Welcome to On Point by Target River, the podcast where strategy meets execution with a little fun. I'm your host, Brian, and each episode will break down what actually works in marketing, sales, and growth so you can stay sharp, focused, and always on point. Let's dive in. What's the most exciting or greatest live event or sporting event that you've ever experienced? I'm a sports junkie. I love going to sporting events. I love concerts, but I definitely, if I had to be anywhere on planet Earth at any given time, it'd probably be at a sporting event. And out of all of the hundreds or likely thousands of them that I've gone to, from professional to collegiate, tennis, football, golf, baseball, you name it, the most memorable one to me is a division playoff series between the Seattle Mariners, one of my two favorite baseball teams, and the dreaded New York Yankees. Okay, so let me build the stage here. It's game 5. It's the deciding game of this divisional series. The Mariners had the better record, so they were the home team for the 5th and deciding game. It was being played in the Kingdome, which no longer exists, but so because it's a dome, you can imagine that with a roof, the noise in there because of the crowds and a sold-out crowd is just deafening. In fact, I recall, I think it was as loud as a 747 taking off next to you. So this game, game 5, it's got all the drama you could imagine of any made-for-TV or Hollywood movie about a baseball game. Okay, battling back and forth, the game is switching, the scores back and forth on who's got the lead. It gets to the 9th inning and the game's tied. So we go into extra innings. And two of the big pictures that were in that series were Jack McDowell for the Yankees and Randy Johnson for the Mariners. They both had previously pitched in this series, and they are starters. So they should not normally come in at the end of a game. But they both came in because this was the deciding game. Whoever won moved on to the American League Championship against the Cleveland Indians. So Jack McDowell enters for the Yankees. Randy Johnson enters for the Mariners. The game goes on. Then the best and most exciting play I've ever seen in my life occurs. Ken Griffey Jr., who is one of the all-time greatest baseball players, gets on first base. Edgar Martinez, the designated hitter or designated hitting phenom for the Mariners, comes up to the plate. He hits a deep ball to right center field. Ken Griffey Jr. takes off as fast as he possibly can. He's rounding the bases. He goes to third base. The third base coach waves him into home. The outfielder for the Yankees has the balls, throwing it to home. Ken Griffey Jr. slides in just before the tag. The Mariners win the game. 60,000 plus Washingtonians scream at the top of their lungs. It's the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. It was incredible. People did not want to leave because it was such an amazing experience and event. The celebration was tremendous. And as we think about that, or as I think back to that event, there was so much built into it. You had pressure. You had drama, you had intensity, you had failures, you had successes, and you ultimately had celebrations. And as I think about those, isn't that true in a lot of the things that we do in life? We've got drama, we've got buildup, we have failures at times, we have successes, and then we have those moments of elation or celebration. We have that when we're working with clients often. And we think about the marketing plans and strategies that we do to help them achieve the goals that they're seeking. And every organization has different goals. You could even be in the same industry as another organization, but because of where you are and the length of your company, whether you're in infancy or maybe a mature organization, or you're just a local retailer versus a regional or national one, again, you could be in the same industry, but still have very different goals than some of your competitors that are around you. That all comes back to the fact that during those seasons of our organizations, we're going to have those highs and those lows. And the key is not to try to avoid them, because I kind of think that's impossible, but how to be better prepared for when those moments happen so that we can understand how to respond and react when we have that failure or that loss, that strikeout, so to speak, that occurred in that Mariner Yankees series with so many batters, what will we do? How will we respond so that we can fix what went wrong and move back in the right direction? So when we think about marketing, there's a few key principles that will really help us ensure that we can work through those seasonalities or those highs and lows or ups and downs so that we have more moments of success and I would say even true celebration. And it goes back to this formula that we often talk about at Target River. And in fact, when we do a video call with clients, it's the background for every one of us that's a teammate at Target River. We have our company logo on one side of our shoulder, and on the other side, we have a little diagram. It says who, how, what, and where. These 4 basic words drive the methodology that we use to ensure that we delight or bring celebratory success to each of our clients, regardless of the industry or vertical that they're in. So if you're listening and you're a public agency and you have outreach to your residents or stakeholders in your community, if you're a nonprofit and you're trying to grow donor retention and acquisition and serve more of your clients, if you're a business, maybe in e-commerce and you need to sell more products online, or you're a retailer or you're a restaurant and you need more foot traffic, or maybe you're an education system looking to boost enrollment or pass a tax initiative in your community. Regardless of the desired outcome, this formula of who, how, what, where will help you circumnavigate and get through any potential lows or failures and increase the likelihood that you'll have delightful success. So what do those 4 words mean when it comes to marketing strategy? It's really this. And some of this will sound like common sense or the logical approach. And I hope to you that are listening, you'll see that it really is. The key, though, is pulling it off in the right way with the right methodology and not skipping anything, or worse, changing the order of it. Okay, so here it goes. Who? Who are those individuals that you need to get a message to? Many times it's very clear and simple. We have one client who has a SaaS product that is specifically for certain individuals of job titles in organizations in the US. So in any given company, there's maybe 3 to 5 people that are likely candidates to learn about their product. That's it. Everybody else in America, this product is not relevant for. So it's very easy to identify who their target audience is. For others, it might be a bit broader. For instance, with our school clients that are looking to pass a tax initiative, they have lots of different people that could potentially vote on that bond or that tax levy. Maybe you're a municipality passing a jail bond or an ambulance or first responder bond. Same thing, so many different individuals, from young single adults to retired couples and everything in between. Every one of them is a valuable stakeholder, but we need to identify them separately so that we can then communicate with them effectively. Once we identify who they are, we can then go into the exploration of how do we get a message to them. Now, if I threw up a big screen behind me, we could list out dozens and dozens of ways that we can get a message to people nowadays, right? Email, text, direct mail, billboards, radio, television, Performance Max ads, search ads, retargeting ads, and the list goes on and on and on. But obviously, not every communication tool will allow you to reach the specific people that you want to reach. For instance, not everybody that lives in a particular community might be the right person that you want to reach. So a billboard might not be the most effective tool, but maybe an email to them is. But the key is to make sure you choose the right ones. And here's a good simple litmus test. If you have a specific group that you want to reach, then you simply ask, will this tactic allow me to specifically reach these people and ignore everybody else? And if the answer is no, it's probably not the right tactic to use, and you should use another tactic that actually will allow you to target and reach those people the right way. So we've covered the who, your audiences, the how, the tactics that you're going to use. Now we get to the part that oftentimes people want to do first, and that is the messaging. What are we going to say to those individuals through those tactics to get them to do what we want them to do? okay? We have to think about several key things. Who are each of these individuals? And then as we're reaching them, what are they experiencing or what are they doing at the moment that they see that ad? So quick example, and actually a near failure on our part. We have a client. One of the tactics we're utilizing for them are billboards. There's a large percent of the population that qualifies to receive the messaging from this client. The initial draft of the creative came over, and this billboard had 3 logos, 2 photos, a QR code, a phone number, and a website on it. I don't think I have to explain to you what's probably wrong with that billboard, right? But just to humor you and myself, here's a few of those things that were wrong. Number 1, a QR code. How many of us could safely and legally pull out our phones and scan a QR code as we pass a billboard? None of us. How about remember a phone number or a particular website? So the key thing here in this example is we have to consider what the person's doing when they're seeing the message that we're sending to them. Is it going to be memorable? Will you be remembered? And will something important about you be remembered? Now, let's say we're watching a video and we're creating a great video. Where is that video going to be seen? Is it going to be on a mobile phone because it's most likely shared on YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, a place that most often people are watching on their phones or maybe a tablet? Or is it a video that's going to show up on someone's big screen, their 60 or 70 or 100-inch television? That will dictate in part how you produce that video because there'll be different experiences that are going on. The last key part of our equation, after who and how and what, is the where. Where did people see messaging and where did they go from there? In other words, the reporting or the accountability to it, okay? The ability to track things nowadays is so much better than it was 5, 10, 20 years ago when it came to marketing. There are so many ways to have the different messaging that you do be accountable. The audiences, the tactics, and the message. So it's important to set up the proper tracking that you do as well. And when you follow this formula of reaching the right people, the right way, with the right message, that's when goodness happens. That's when you have meaningful results and positive outcomes. So back to that Mariner versus Yankee game. As I mentioned, it was incredible. It was amazing. And I remember being there for not just 1 or 2 minutes after the game in my seat, but for dozens of minutes as people continued to celebrate. Okay. Why were they able to celebrate the Mariners? Well, I'm biased because I'm a Mariner fan, of course, but they had the right tools in place. They had the right positions. They'd identified who the right people were. They identified a game plan on how to attack the Yankees, including on that play, right? Everything had to go properly. Edgar had to get the hit. Griffey had to run the bases properly and cut around second base and come into third base at the right angle. That third base coach had to make the important decision, am I going to get Griffey out at home or does he have enough time to beat the throw and score the winning run for us? I can't imagine the pressure on him, and I wish I could remember his name right now, but can you imagine having the responsibility of winning or failing or losing that game based on sending a player home? But all of these things came into play and allowed them to have a successful outcome and win that game. Now, I wish the story continued with success. Unfortunately, the Mariners lost to the Cleveland Indians in the American League Championship and have still never made the World Series. But that moment will live in my brain forever, and it will remind me that through all of life, whether it's our personal or professional lives, we're going to have those moments of failure, those moments of elation, and those moments of celebration. The key is, how do we respond to them and learn from them and grow from them?
Thanks for listening to On Point by Target River. If you're ready to grow your organization with real strategy that generates meaningful results, visit targetriver.com and connect with our team today. Stay focused, stay winning, and stay on point. We'll see you next time.